So we have CSS, stands for Cascading Style Sheet. It defines how to display the HTML elements. It also defines the design of the web page. So the CSS allows you to apply specific styles to specific HTML elements. The main benefit of CSS is that it allows you to separate style from the content. Using just HTML, all the styles and formatting are in the same place, which becomes rather difficult to maintain as the page grows. So, there are 3 ways to insert style sheets. Using the inline, embedded or internal CSS, and using the external CSS. So when you say using inline CSS, you have the following example. It's highlighted in green. CSS is contained inside of an HTML attribute called style. The attribute tells the browser that what follows inside the quotation mark is CSS. In the example, the style will only apply to the element to which they are attached to. In that case, the H1 element. With inline style, a unique style is applied to a single element. So we also have the embedded. The embedded style are defined within the style element. This one. The embedded style are defined within the style element inside the head section of an HTML page. As in the example, the style is inside the head of our HTML. So the styles will apply only to the elements targeted by the selector. So in this instance, the style will apply to all header elements on the page where this style element appears. An embedded style sheet may be used if one single page has a unique style. Then we also have the external CSS. In the external CSS, all styling rules are contained in a single text file, which is saved in the .css extension. This CSS file is then referenced in the HTML using the link tag. The link element goes inside the head section. So we have here our example. This style, this CSS is an inline. The style is inside our HTML. So when we run this one, we've got this one.
You get it. You get it.
Then we have another example. This is the external using the link inside the head. So this is the link. And this is the external file, which is a separate file. If we look at the folder of that one, so this is the folder. This is the index.html and this is the styles.css. So again, in our HTML, we use the link and we have this, our style. So let's continue. We have the CSS syntax. CSS has a style rule or style rules that is interpreted by the browser and applies it on the document. So a style rule has 3 parts. We have the selector, the property, and the value. So this is an example of a CSS syntax. We have here the selector, the property, and the value. The selector selects which element to style. In this case, H1 is the element that where we will put our style. The declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by semicolon. So meaning you can add more property and value here, just separate them with semicolons. Each declaration includes a property name and a value separated by a colon. Then we also have type selectors. This targets the element type on the page. Now, so this is how you make use, or how you use your CSS. We can have the type selector wherein you target a specific element. In this case, the element that we target is P, and then we have this and we assign property and value to it. The property is color, the value is blue. So specific element ang iyahang target. Then we also have the ID selector. The ID selector style an HTML element that has an ID attribute and is defined with hashtag. So this is the HTML. So the ID name is intro. So when we style our CSS, we use hashtag to call that ID. Since the ID name is intro, so we use hashtag intro, and then the property, or what we would like for its design. We also have the class selector. It works the same way as the ID selector, but instead it is defined with dot or period. Example, and we use it on the class. Now, for example, we have here P class first. The name of the class where P belongs, or the P class is named first. So whenever we want to give a style to our class first, then we use dot first and then the design or the property. We also have descendant selector. When you say descendant selector, used to select elements that are descendants of another element. So we have here the ID intro. Intro na siya, sayop lang, typo error. So we have the ID for our division, intro. P class, the name of our class is first. So in our CSS, we call first the class, the ID intro, and then the class first, and the specific style or the specific tag that we want, or the specific element where we would like to have our design. So in this case, this is the descendant, now from intro down to our P and to our specific element where we would like to put our design. So in this case, only the EM will have this design. The color is pink, background color gray. So let's look at our example. So in our example, we have here, we use the external CSS. So we call on our link styles.css, which refers to this one. Let's have here, we have ID wrapper header. So how do we put a style for our wrapper header? We use the hashtag, then the name, and then ang iyahang property, or what we would like to do with our element. So we set height to 55 px. Then we also have this one, another ID. So again, we use hashtag. So if we want, kung gusto nato na, for example, kani lang siya, separate ang iyahang style, then we say hashtag, the name of the ID where P belongs. For example, in this case, P belongs to logo des. So we have here P. So kung kani siya na style will be applied, it will be only applied to P, specifically datong naa siya diri nga ID. Okay, so we have ID nav, so we have hashtag nav. Okay, so nani ang example. So this one, we have the dot, meaning we are using this in our class. Example. We have here the class main content. So we use dot main content to call that one. So atong example na atong i-try siya og run. Okay. Okay, so itong i-inspect. This is our HTML and this is our CSS right here. So for our ID, we have height is 55px. Mo na siya sa ato ang code, di ba? We have here wrapper ID and the style is height 55px. So muna ang gi-display dire sa ato ang sample. For wrapper header, we have 55. For the logo, mao ni siya, and so on. Okay, so I will be sending you this HTML element, and what I want you to do is create your own style. You add your own style to this HTML. So what you will submit to me would be a picture of your own style CSS, or you can just send me the file, since this is very this is only a small file. So pwede rin yun mo i-send sa ako. So individual work, you may individual work na siya. Any style lang. I'm not requiring you to have wala requirements sa style, basta sa imuha lang interpretation or imuha lang gusto na design na ibutang ani na HTML element. So akong example, inanhira siya, plain lang siya. So buhatig imo. Buhatan na to na siya this afternoon, alauna to 2:00. Kita?